Hi everyone, my name is Yusra Mahmoud and I'm your co-host from Eat Talk. This weekend on Saturday, September 3rd is our Snappi conference. Please don't miss out. Tickets are almost ran out and they are currently on sale, so check out their website and get your ticket now to secure your spot. Hey everyone, thank you guys so much for your continuous support and thank you for clicking this video. If you'd like to find more ways to support us, please visit our website at goodconvosonly.com where you'll be able to find our merch and all of our podcast episodes. Welcome back everyone to Eat Talk. My name is Yusra.
And I'm Gilbert and we're back with another episode of Eat Talk.
Today we have some of the amazing founders of Snappi. I have Firdaus, Mukhtar, and Haibat here. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you guys so much for coming today. We are going to talk about the biggest event that happens right here in the Twin Cities, and I'm really, really excited that you guys came here and going to share how all of this started. Somali Diaspora Conference. We're going to link the website. It is going to be on September 3rd, this Saturday, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But I'm going to let you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves first. So let's start with you, Firdaus, and tell about like what your position or title or like involvement with Snappi is.
Yes. So my name is Firdaus, and I am an organizer with Snappi. These folks are on the founding team, but I help every year with the conference. So this is my second year doing that. Just excited to be here.
Awesome. Welcome. Yeah. Don't even be humble. Exactly. She's like a lot of the brains behind this.
What else? Talk about yourself. Don't be humble.
Okay, a little bit about myself.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, your background and everything.
Okay, so a little bit about my background. I have a huge passion for media, so that is a lot of the work that I do is in media. I am the founder of a small media organization here in Minnesota called The Rio Project. Shameless plug, visit us on therioproject.com. Instagram is also The Rio Project. We have lots of really cool content coming up.
Super excited. And The Rio Project is amazing, guys, so definitely check them out on Instagram. I absolutely love it. Yeah. All right, big man, Mukhtar. Go ahead.
Hey, oh man, this is they put me in the middle, man. I really did not want to do this, man.
Don't be humble. Don't be shy.
No. I try not to be too humble. Thanks for having us. First of all, we really appreciate it. My name is Mukhtar Sharif. I'm one of the founding members of Snappi. We started about 5 years ago now. It's actually been almost 6 years now. And we have chapters in Toronto, Columbus, Minneapolis, Seattle, and we hope in 2022 and 23 to expand to DC, Atlanta, other kind of hubs where many Somali professionals live. And this week we're doing the Somali Diaspora Conference. We also kind of founded that piggybacking off of the popularity of Snappi and trying to connect people every year at the same time on Labor Day. My background is in tech. I did a little bit of podcasting. I took a little bit of a break. I'm coming back, guys.
Yeah,
I promise.
You guys heard it. Podcasting for real.
I'm coming back, inshallah. So my podcast is called Nomadic Hustle. Shed light on like Somali stories, Somali success. Mainly because when you Google the word Somali and you go to Google Images, all you see is piracy, poverty, like you see terrorism. And that's kind of around, like Africa in general. When you Google any country, all they show you is like the worst of that area, right? So for me, it was really a long goal of changing their narrative around Somali people, the Somali regions, the Somali narrative. And every time you Google it, other people are writing about you, right? So it was kind of our way of taking back control over the narrative.
I love that.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. Definitely check out his podcast, and we hopefully look forward to seeing you coming back.
Inshallah.
There's a lot of Somali excellence that needs to be spread. So
appreciate it.
Yes. And my sister, Haibat, go ahead and introduce
Don't be humble like y'all. Speak up. You gotta speak up.
So my name is Haibat Sharif. I am one of the founding members of Snappi, but I would say I'm the founding member of Snappi Minnesota with my other partner in crime, Guled. Mukhtar came to us 5 years ago and said, hey, I need you guys to start this professional networking chapter with like 2 months before our official network, because we do everything last minute. 2 months before our official networking event. And yeah, I was like, nobody's gonna come. This is Minnesota. And I wasn't even from Minnesota. I was pretty new here. So it's going pretty well. I'm excited. I'm excited for the conference. My background is in public health. I was a public health educator for the past 7 years. And then I saw my love of educating people around substance use disorder, which led me into the treatment world. And now I'm currently doing that other than Snappi. So
wow, mashallah. So we
That's
have
all?
that's
She don't got more to say.
a lot of Somali excellence in this room. No, that's amazing. What does Snappi stand for? I was gonna say, but I didn't want to mess up, so I'm gonna let you guys say it.
Okay.
It stands for Somali North American Business Professionals Inc. It's a long name.
Yeah.
We're glad that you can just call it Snappi.
Yeah,
that makes
me
it
too.
much easier for everybody.
Yeah.
And I want to give a shout out to Ahmed Ismail and Abu Bakr, who are kind of like the godfathers of this concept, right? So they came. I went to Australia in 2017, right before starting Snappi, and they were doing this in Australia, right? And they had at a small scale. I mean, there's more people in like a neighborhood in Minnesota and Minneapolis, and there are Somalis in all of Australia, right? So, but they were doing very well at that time, and I just asked myself a question like, why can't we do this in America? Why can't we do this in North America? Why can't we take the concept back? We have 10 times the population, and so that's where the inspiration came from. And Abu Bakr was doing this thing called the Somali Expat Forum in the UAE. So anytime a Somali person goes to Dubai, which many people now transit through Dubai. Everyone wants to work in the UAE. Teachers, nurses, everyone's looking for an opportunity. They would just hit him up and say, hey, I want to get a job. How do I do it? And after 100 people did that, he was like, let's just create a group and get all these people in a group and let them answer each other's question. And so we took that model. We started off as a Facebook group first. For the first
I love that. Yep.
For the first month, it's like me, Hibad, and 7 of our friends.
Yeah.
We're just posting. The same person is posting all day, every day. And I don't know what happened. We stayed consistent, and one day 5,000 people joined. Right? And it just caught fire like that. We, started within a month. There was a chapter in Columbus, one in Seattle, one in Minneapolis, one in Toronto. And within 3 months, we did events in all those cities. So it was kind of crazy to see some of the people leading the chapters. We had never met them, right? We just put down our mission vision together and said, this is what we want to do. Are you on board? And they said, this is exactly what we want. And they did their events, right? So that's kind of the backstory. And we want this to continue, right? We want our children to be able to connect on the same platform that we had created, right? So it's a long game. It's a big vision. We hope to achieve it. And the conference is one way that we get closer to that goal.
Yeah, I love that because I remember when I was I've always been part of the Facebook group, and was amazing because people would post job posting. I used to send it because I know a lot of friends, especially straight out of college, that were oh, I'm looking for a job, or even roommate situations. I've seen brothers and sisters that are hey, looking for a roommate, and I'm this is so safe and amazing. And I remember I was it would be so cool if we could meet in person. So when you guys finally did your first conference, it was really exciting. So I want you guys to kind of talk about how your first conference went and the planning that it took, and what were some obstacles and pros and cons of that took place.
So before our first conference, it was about 1.5 years of doing local events. So I met you from the first networking event at Hamlin. We had about 200 people show up. So it was networking events and then having industry specific events, whether it's healthcare, tech. We had one with law, medicine, and we were kind of gearing up for the conference by doing these small conferences and small networking events, and then seeing the interest. And then in 2019, I think Mukhtar has always wanted to do a conference, and then I just got roped into it.
Yeah.
Guys, Hibad's true passion is creativity and organizing, and that's if she didn't have immigrant parents, she probably just went to art school or something. Right? She would have probably just done something creative. So this really allows us to be creative. The conference allows us to get together. Firdaus, we have a team of 20 people that put the conference together, right? Yeah. All different backgrounds, all different age groups.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. So speaking of that, what was essentially what was the goal of these conferences? Is it for people to network and meet other people for, you know, future career, you know, possibilities, or was it to expand? Like, what were the goal for you guys at this conference?
So I feel like Mukhtar has he can tell you guys about the bigger vision, the bigger goal of Snappi. I feel like he says that very eloquently. But for me, the way I see Snappi is to connect Somalis. We're not a single story. We're not a single type of people, pirates and all of that stuff, all what everybody thinks we are. And just through Snappi, I've met so many amazing individuals and so many people in different different industries, careers, just bringing those people together, having them network. There's been tons of like friendships and businesses and ideas and organizations that's formed through Snappi. So my biggest thing is connecting people so those people can meet and do something bigger.
So with that, is there like any stories that you want to share of people that have actually met at that conference to go on to be successful, or kept in touch, or came back and told you guys where they are now in life?
I have people who've gotten investment through people they met at the conference.
I see, that's a success story.
I've seen people who are best friends. I'm very close with the people I met in the Australia conference. Like, I was a speaker down there, and everyone I spoke with, we became super close. We took a 10-hour road trip on like the Australian coast for an entire day, and now those friendships are being formed. And that's one reason why we do it, to connect people together, right? Because when you're a professional, what do? You go work 9 to 5.
That's true.
And you go home to your family for the most part. Once you're out of college, there's no real opportunity to like meet people, right? You meet your coworkers and you have some of your friends that you've always had. But like new people, it's very hard in adulthood to like make new friendships, new connections. It's taxing on your time. You don't know if this person is going to be annoying. You don't know if this person is like, if you're going to mesh. So what we do is we bring a lot of like-minded people together. You know, Somali excellence, celebrating that. And if that, you know, she did mention there's like a bigger vision, right? The shorter term vision is to connect people. You get investment, you can find a job. If you're just looking for a job, it's your first year out of college, you'll find somebody who's been in your industry 20 years. So that person's going to help you, mentor you for free, and help you avoid like 2 years of just like random mistakes. There's real value in that. Or let's say you're a 15-year veteran, you want to give back, right? A lot of these people that are, let's say you're a doctor, you know, you live in Texas, you're a surgeon, you've been doing it 25 years. You've made all the money you could make, right? You've done as much as you could do for your family. The next thing that people look for is like fulfillment. How do you get fulfillment? You help somebody, young person that's trying to do what you were doing 20 years ago, and now now you have an opportunity to help. So a lot of kind of 40 plus people in Snappi, that's kind of their role. They want to be mentors. The bigger vision is we have Somalia, you know, all the different regions in East Africa and the Horn of Africa. 30 plus years. I mean, the 40-year-old in Somalia like didn't finish school, most likely, right? Because the war happened when they turned 10, right? The 30-year-old they've lived through an entire lifetime of like a failed state, of no institutions. So the diaspora has to sort of be this force of rebuilding the entire Horn of Africa. So our goal eventually, inshallah, through these conferences, through Snappi, is to create an atmosphere for the redevelopment of the Horn of Africa. So the doctors that's needed, the engineers that's needed, everyone who's needed to redevelop the nation. Most failed states are redeveloped by their diaspora. That's kind of just how it always works. You look at like Eritrea, you look at Ethiopia, all these countries have diaspora funds. They have ways to bring people back home. They have taxes that diaspora pay, right? And some countries, they charge you. The moment you show up, you pay your fee for being from that country, right? Somalia right now and the Somali regions don't have those mechanisms in place. So we hope to be that, inshallah.
Nice, yeah, inshallah. And I can attest to like the friendship, or like I think I met a lot, even just like connecting with you, I think from Snappi, you, like all three of you actually. And then like shout out to my friend Naima, like I connected her, and then her and I just like became like sisters, like when she visits and everything. And like a lot of people from that. So I think you're right, like friendships. I met people who I've sat down and talked like business with. Either they gained information from me and resources, or I gained information from them. So definitely I want to say, I feel like you were about to say something.
No, you said exactly what I was going to say.
And then with Mukhtar's point, like if we honestly tell the truth, even our younger generation, we have our bags packed. Like, we're American, we love living here, but then we always romanticize going back home and what it would be like if the war didn't happen. So I feel like if the diaspora got together and everybody, whatever they're doing, whatever skill that they have, go back home and do something. Like, you know how people do mission trips, like medical mission trips, do something. Like, it would really greatly impact back home.
No, I like this. And then, like, piggybacking off of that, like, for example, like, even showing non-Somalis. So, for example, like, I went to, so, like, we had Black Business Week this month, actually, sometime. And I was like, one of the events that I was at, you know, they were just kind of talking about the difference of like identifying between a Black American and an African and East African, you know, and all that, you know, and essentially we kind of all fall under the same boat, but like a lot of us like kind of don't as well, like, you know, we like to separate. And one of the things, I was talking to an African American woman, and she was like telling me, she was like, you know, I used to think like Somali people, like, oh my God, like they came to America and they're just like running everything and they're just like, you know, taking our money and just like, you know, this and that and like all this. And she was like, but then she was like, somebody showed me like a picture of like Somalia before the war, and she was like, y'all were already rich. Like, she was like, you guys didn't come from like poor. Like, she was like, you guys had like beautiful homes and like you guys were gorgeous and like you guys had schools and jobs and like, you know, like you guys came from money and you guys just came here to just like continue just in a different like land, you know. And so I feel like this conference kind of highlights like, okay, yeah, we didn't just come from like poverty. Like, we're showing like we have educational backgrounds, like we're entrepreneurs, like we come, like we have like medical experts, tech experts, like all that, and like we're showcasing, you know, what that really is. So I think this can really help educate non-Somali people as well, like what the Somali like excellence is.
And that's my favorite part, when non-Somalis show up to the conference is my favorite part. Like, yay, somebody different. Even though it's called the Somali Diaspora Conference, I love when people who aren't Somali show up. And last year we had quite a few, and I'm like, okay, this is awesome.
So with the conference, so how do you guys attract the Gen Z?
We bribe them.
How you guys attract them or market towards them, because that's you guys' point, right? To attract the younger generation, to be able to educate them to move forward and all that stuff. So what do you guys do, and what have you guys found that is tough to bring them into the conference and keep that tension going?
I think more than attract Gen Zs, we want to create something for them to run, right? Because a lot of, when I was younger, right, it was always youth are the future. It's never right now.
That's true.
It's always like every organization that I've been a part of when I was younger, you go to this thing and they're like, you're the future. You go to your mosque and they're like, one day you're going to be this person. Like, literally some of the mosques that I've been to, it's the same guy that was telling me I was the future in the 90s. It's still there. So the future never gets old, right? And that's one thing, that's a promise as Snappi that we've all made ourselves. For Gen Z, it's not a matter of attracting, it's not a matter of like, you know, having them show up, it's a matter of like having them lead
I like
this
that.
thing, right? We want them to lead Snappi to the next generation, because they understand their peers, they understand the people they went to school with, they understand things that we might. One thing I notice is like, once you start working, and now we're millennials, I feel like, I mean, they call us boomers. I mean, we're not boomers, but like, as we get a little bit older.
Don't make us that old.
Everybody wants says that. Like, every time we don't understand something, they're like, you're a boomer. That's a different story. But what I'm realizing is that the older you get, you become more successful, right? You go higher up at your job, you make more money, you're more involved in you and your family. But you lose touch with what's going on. You don't know trends that are going on, right? You don't know what people care about. You don't know. You spend 5, 6, 7, you'll see yourself, a decade has gone by, and you have no idea what young people are doing, right? So we don't want to be that person. We want Gen Zs to be not only a part of Snappi, but leading it. And the legacy we want to leave is that Snappi continues 50 years, 100 years, as long as possible. One thing Ahmed said in Australia was like, the reason he did what he did in Australia, because he met a guy who his father once helped and who helped him. right? Because his father had helped him. He was like, hey, listen, your dad looked out for me like 30 years ago. He connected me to this opportunity and he got me this job in this business. Now I have to do it, right? So for him, it's like creating that atmosphere that who is helping now, his daughter is going to be able to thrive because of all of those things he's doing.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So how do you give them that segue though to lead? You know, like where do you open the doors and then you're like, okay, like you can lead.
You should come to one of our meetings.
That's always the answer.
No, they're literally like the ones that are keeping us on track. And like what I've noticed is with us millennials, we kind of get off track. We're joking around, and they're the ones that actually keep us on track. And they're really great project managers. And I'm actually blown away about like how organized they are. I was like, I was never this organized.
Yeah.
I was like, I could do stuff, but it was like organized chaos, and they're just very organized, on task, and they can bring their ideas. And that's why our marketing has changed this year, is because of, and people are noticing it's because of them and TikTok and
I know.
all that stuff.
Yeah. So speaking of marketing, I kind of want to go into that. So talk about like, you know, how I guess, how do I say this? What do you find difficult about like marketing to the community here in Minnesota when it comes to Snappi?
I think for me, at least, what I find is that there's so many different parts of the community that we want to be involved in SCC, and so finding a way to create marketing that's very inclusive, that's inviting to everyone, because like Hibad mentioned, we have both Somalis and non-Somalis, that we want to be participating in the conference. Within Somalis, we have, you know, the older Somalis, some would say boomers, that we would like to have participate in the conference. And then we have our Gen Zs that require very different marketing. And one thing as an attendee that I've seen in the past couple of years was I thought that the Snappi conference wasn't something that was addressed towards like someone in my age group, and so we sort of wanted to negate that in all parts of the community now and just be very inclusive and inviting for everyone. And so what I find most difficult is just finding a way to create that marketing for everyone. And like you had mentioned, we're very Gen Z heavy in the marketing now. And so we do need to, we're still working on finding that balance.
So do you guys bring people around the Gen Z age group, or do you guys bring people towards older crowd?
You mean as speakers?
Yeah, speakers. As speakers.
So we have a mix this year, actually.
Oh,
We have decent number of Gen Zs that joined us this year.
That's good.
I mean, Gen Z is not a child anymore, guys. We have to look at the oldest Gen Z is like 27 now, so it's like they're not, you know, they're in leadership roles.
27 Gen Z?
26.
I don't think so.
Anyone born 97 and after, what is that? 25?
25.
25.
That's crazy.
Yes,
That's 2 years.
25.
Guys.
You know, when you're in your 20s, it
aging
really matters.
yourself.
Is that a big difference to those 2 years?
You're aging yourself.
A little.
We're trying to save you here.
No, that's okay.
So, but our conference is a good mix, and I feel like this year especially it's a good mix because I would be like, why aren't students coming? And they're like, we thought this was for business and entrepreneurs and people that are already in their careers. And I feel like this year it finally clicked that, oh, this is for us too. We have a whole bunch of what was it, the SSA from Arizona State University was like, can we get a discount code? There's 20 of us coming. And I'm like, okay, bet. That's good. So I feel like we're definitely getting along.
Yeah, no, like I'm bringing my little sister this year because she was like, she's like, I don't know what I want to do. She was like, so I'm trying to like, you know, meet people and all that stuff. So no, that's awesome. So speaking of mixing, I'm going to bring up a little controversial topic, you know.
It may exit the room.
You know.
Look at them all drinking the water.
That's a code, man. That's good. If I take 2 sips, we gotta get out of here. We gotta cut the camera.
Blinking
I want
Morse
you
code.
guys to address this. You know, some of the issues that have come up with Snappi in the last years is like, you know, how do you guys differentiate Somali and Islam? So as far as like, you know, when it comes to like when we come to these events, like guys and girls are sitting with each other and some people just it's shut the world down because of that, you know. And so how do you guys like address those kind of things? And then like kind of like, you know, obviously like we're Muslim and you know this conference is of course like Islamic based and all that stuff, but like how do you kind of, you know, differentiate or try to, like, you know, smoothen that, I guess, concerns that people bring up?
So you mean like just
free mixing?
Yeah, there you go.
So the issue of free mixing, like it's an Islamic thing, right? It requires sheikhs, and it requires like an actual opinion from a sheikh. So I don't want to get into like the legality of things and halal and haram, because then you have to bring evidences and you have to bring your sources, and so that's not. So what I will say is that we're trying to be as, you know, true to our faith and principles as possible, right? So from our understanding, I mean, listen, I have sheikhs and I have religious, you know, guidance and leadership that I go back to. Hibad does as well as, you know, Firdaus. And from our scholars, right, the main thing that they try to tell us, you want to minimize, right, the negative impacts of things as much as possible, right? So for us, you go to work every day, right? You see people of different genders, you work with them in a public setting, and from what we're trying to do is, this is professional, right? It's public, it's like cordial, and we try not to, you know, break, you know, any boundaries, Islamic boundaries that are set, right? So we're doing our best to make sure that, you know, this is something that is true to Islam, and at the same time we're able to facilitate connections and networking. And
also, you can't control 500 people.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's really impossible.
Yeah.
And then we're free mixing in our everyday lives. So in some ways, I was like, okay. Sometimes there's people that will write online, you guys are free mixing. I'm like, where do you work? I want to know where you work. Segregated?
Yeah.
So,
No, I'm glad that you addressed that. So I want to kind of focus now about this year's conference. What can we expect? What is new that hasn't, you know, happened in the last few years? And then, like, you know, why do you want people to come here?
Why do you want people to come?
My personal favorite, Sammy the comedian. He thought he was
so
Sudanese. I was so
I never knew Sammy, bro. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were Somali.
Oh my God, but when I seen that, I think like
is he actually?
I messaged somebody.
Yeah, Sammy.
Yeah, he's Somali.
On TikTok.
I think I found him on Instagram before.
I found him on TikTok.
You found him on TikTok?
So
right away.
No, I knew he was Somali.
Shout out to you though.
Videos in Somali. Yeah, he's hilarious. I'm really excited about that. And then I guess before you guys continue about the highlights of this year, I wanted to ask real quick, like, how do you get, like, speakers and, like, because you get people from, like, all over the world, you know, so, like, how do you get them to come to this conference?
So we have a nomination form, which Somalis do not utilize. They rather utilize my inbox.
Yeah. I think it's everybody's thing.
Guys, Hibad's inbox is the nomination form.
Yeah.
If you want to speak, DM Hibad.
Yeah.
You know.
DM me, but do it like a year in advance now.
Yeah.
So we do have nominations before the conference. We literally tell you if you think you should be part of the conference or if you want to nominate somebody to be part of the conference, fill out the form. Very few people actually fill it out. We look through our networks, right? So a lot of the people are people that some of us have seen at other conferences that might come across your feed as, like, you know, exceptional person that's done X, Y, and Z. So we're like, hey, we gotta reach out. And the beauty of being Somali, and most countries there's like 6 degrees of separation. Somali is 1. There's literally between you and any other Somali person on earth, there's like that one person. And I've seen this time and time again. So we usually just DM somebody, or Hibad knows someone who knows someone, or Firdaus knows this individual who's like their cousin, right? So we look through the networks, we try to vet people, meaning like make sure either they have incredible stories or they have, like, they're incredibly accomplished, right? Last year we had a ton of great people. We had a neurosurgeon from Tennessee, and he's maybe one of 5 or 6 people in the state who does what he does, right? And he's a young Somali brother, right? You would never, it's hard to really bring all of these people under one roof in one event, right? So we try to source.
The contractor that rebuilt the Target It was a Somali woman, the target on
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, there's so many people that just getting. Okay, so it's weird when we're looking at nomination forms and we're looking at their resumes. We're like, okay, these people are impressive, and we get them, and then they actually speak, and I'm like, whoa, okay, this person's awesome.
Really cool.
So, all types of people. Yeah. But and then sometimes we'll see somebody on the news, and then we're like, oh, how can we get that? And then we DM one, or he put it on, like, there's this one girl we were looking for. She couldn't come this year, but he's like, does anybody know this girl that invented the heart valve?
Yeah.
Whatever. And
somebody texted me her number.
Yep. And somebody
they were like, here's her WhatsApp. And I message her.
I love them.
And I'll say this about Somali people, right? There is no getting to know each other phase when you're talking to a stranger.
No.
The moment you know they're Somali or they know you're Somali, you just skip all of the awkwardness.
Yeah.
You go straight to, can you come to Minnesota in 4 weeks?
To the point. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's one of our like superpowers. I think as a region, it's like you see anyone anywhere in the world, and the moment you find out they're Somali, it's like our instant connection. And you know somebody that knows them.
Yeah, I love that. Anytime I travel, like even like for my birthday, I was in New Orleans. Okay, there was not an East African in sight, and I remember I was getting food like on my last day, and I seen like 3 Somali people from DC, like they were with like their boss, like getting food. And we just made eye contact, and then I had to walk by, like I had to cross them because we were crossing the street, and they were like, "You're Somali," and I was like, "Yeah, you are too." And then after that, we just started talking for like an hour or two, and mind you, we don't know each other. Like that's just like the connection like we make. So that's what I love about being Somali. Okay, so circling back to this year's conference. Okay, so what's different this year? What should we expect? You already said why we should come there. But yeah, like what is the main attraction? Like how does it go? Like tell us like about a day. Like it's 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So why should people be there in the morning, like on time? Like why do people need to wake up for this?
So in the morning we focus on breakouts. This year we try to provide more value. Like first session is how to start a consulting firm, take it to 100,000 in the first year.
And it's somebody who
very
actually
specific.
did it.
And someone who's done it many times is doing that session. Another session is how do you start a business and scale it. The person doing it has a $33 million a year business. Right? So these are like real, like usually you'd pay like $10K to this individual to take a course like this and to like connect with them, right? It's not, you see all these master classes online, and you see, for you to connect with a CEO who has $100 million company, is a Somali, and is like willing to mentor you in that time, it's like extremely valuable.
And they're extremely accessible as well.
Yeah, so we try to increase, the value proposition this year, right? We're trying to be more organized. Last year was very organized, but maybe a little bit more organized in terms of time. We have a feedback form that we took very seriously. So we read every single piece of feedback. I mean, hundreds of people like telling us, this is what you did well and this is what you need to work on. So we sat down for hours with our organizers. Before we did anything else for the conference, we're like, hey, we're going to go through the feedback and we're going to see what we're going to address this year. And one thing was facilitated networking, right? People wanted to, let's say you fly in from Alabama, right? And you don't know any Somali people. And you come to our conference. Last year, unless you're extroverted and you're actually like approaching strangers to make connections, it's very hard at a conference of 700, 800 people to like actually make meaningful connections. So this year we're going to facilitate that. Have rooms where people in tech can connect, people in medicine and in healthcare can connect. Questions, you're at a table of 10 people, with prompts and all these things. So you're going to actually really help people meet and connect. And that was one of the biggest things people are coming for, is if I'm from a different state, I want to meet other people. And that's a couple things we're improving on.
Yeah.
I like that.
And also a lot of speakers. We're bringing, I think this year, our last year's speakers are great.
Yeah, I keep seeing y'all people's speakers. I'm like,
so
whoa.
we have almost 50 people coming to like speaking at the conference.
Yeah.
Wow.
Different breakout sessions, different panels.
Yeah.
We have the finance minister, Somali finance minister, former as of like last month, but this is a person who's gotten debt relief from the World Bank for Somalia, which is like very few countries do. It's huge in the process of bringing Somalia back to a central bank, to getting Visa and MasterCard and all these banking regulations to place. And we have him, he's literally here right now in like Bloomington.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So these are people like generational talents. We want to learn from them. We want to see how they did what they did, and we want to be able to like carry the torch, to the next generation.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that.
Another thing I would like to add, in terms of bringing more value to our attendees this year, is we are incorporating recruiting, so allowing people to be able to network with companies and bring your resumes, people.
Nice.
We are also offering, I don't even think I told you guys about this, but
You guys heard it here first.
but we are also offering resume reviews. They are limited though, so this is another reason why you do want to show up earlier in the morning. And yeah, we took everyone's feedback into account, and we promised ourselves to deliver even more value this year. And so that's one of the aspects that allows us to add more value.
You guys gonna go live for people that can't make it? Or
So that's been one.
Last year we did that, right?
We went live,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like
streamed
each session streamed in
True.
Zoom, and
Okay.
a lot of people wanted. We had tons of people who were like, "Hey, we'll pay, just come on Zoom," and but it's so hard. It's already hard enough to
Yeah.
manage the
Yeah.
day of operations. But trying to now, I mean, Sheraton offers that as a service, but it's $10,000 if you want to stream your event live and all the different that stuff. And I just want to say, we don't get any funding for this program. It's all community based sponsorships and ticket sales.
Yeah.
And some of our organizing team sponsors the event as well, right? So we do this not because it's a for-profit venture, but because we are investing in the next generation, Somali talent. We want this to flourish. So right, we were putting money where our mouth is, and we're hoping that this is going to grow in the next 3-4 years to 2,000-3,000 attendees instead of 500, 600, 700.
And all of our speakers donate their time. Last year we didn't pay you. You were our MC. So I was this year I was you guys, next year we need to get it together and find lots of money in order to pay everybody. Because essentially that's what we'd like to do, because everybody's time is valuable.
Yeah, it's valuable. And the conference is very valuable too. I think a lot of people benefit a lot from it, other than getting paid. So it's very rewarding. So that's exciting. So speaking to our sponsors, so why do you need sponsors, and what value and benefit will the sponsors bring? So if we were to approach sponsors right now, why should a business sponsor you?
Businesses should sponsor us because we're displaying Somali excellence, number one. We're changing the narrative around Somalis, Somalia, East Africa, and I'll give you an example. When I was younger, my older brother, now he's a doctor, but before he was, right, there was a young kid at the mosque. So my brother is junior in high school, and he's telling this young kid that's 8 years old, I'm going to become a doctor, I'm going to go to med school. And this kid was shocked. He was like, wait a minute, Somalis can do that? They can become, and this kid is serious, and he's not the only one. I've met, when I was younger, I didn't know any Somali doctors, right? I could not name one. When I was in middle school, high school, I didn't know one software engineer. I didn't know one doctor.
Yeah, I thought everything was dressed up. I didn't know.
You can't become what you don't see, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things we're doing is we're changing what how younger people see Somalis, right? If they saw were, no disrespect to logistics, taxi and all these things that most of our immigrant parents were doing, nothing wrong with that. But if that's all you see, then you think that's all you have in terms of options, right? So we're really shifting, right? And we're also adding to the economy. As a matter of fact, we're spending a lot of money in a place like Bloomington. So, City of Bloomington, you gotta cut that check. You know what I mean? So we're bringing we're flying in 25 speakers. Our conference, we estimated last year, people spent about $150,000 with the vendors. So people are buying product. Okay. They're connecting with each other. They're investing in each other. And so it's its own conference economy. There's, the hotel itself, we have a couple hundred people that come, right? So all of this is its own local economy that we're creating, and sponsorships are going to help us just make it, that much bigger and scale it.
And then I've met so many different apps, products that I'm now using. I kept saying, I don't know what Pacey was until they sponsored our conference.
Shout out to Pacey, guys.
Shout out to Pacey. And then that's all I use to send money back home now. I don't use their competitors anymore. So it's I've bought baby clothes. I've just gotten so much stuff.
I bought baby clothes, and I never buy baby clothes.
Not to mention the number of people that come to the conference, visit Minnesota, see the scene here, and the camaraderie between Somalis.
You guys don't be humble. Just keep on. Keep going.
They're amazed, and a lot of we've had people that come to the conference and then they move to Minnesota.
Wow.
And they bring their family over here. And I think one thing that potential sponsors should keep in mind is that talent and that market that we're attracting to Minnesota every year, and then the people that they're bringing to Minnesota. Like Muhtar is like migrating his entire family.
Yeah, I literally have like 10 of my friends that moved to Minnesota.
Yeah,
and these are like, one guy is a senior, Oracle engineer.
Did they move during the winter? Or they moved during the summer?
Only summertime. I had him visit me in May. I had to make that pitch. Yeah, like when they come and see Minnesota, like Minnesota, bro, like outside of. Like, when you don't live in Minnesota, you don't hear much about Minnesota.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you make an active effort to like follow Minnesota politics or sports and all these things, it'll never come across your radar. I lived in Seattle. I heard nothing about the state of Minnesota.
People still can't pronounce Minnesota, Minneapolis. People still.
Yeah, so there's a lot of talent, and we're bringing a lot of talent. I mean, we're bringing 700-800, talented entrepreneurs, professionals in one building at the same time. So companies.
Do you know that Governor Walz? Okay, we're bringing more jobs
I don't know why
into the economy. Okay, that's amazing. No, I never even thought of it like that. That's mashallah. That's super amazing. No, I'm really excited about this year's conference. I'm really happy that you guys came here today to share this. I know you mentioned like in the future you see this being like a 2-3 day thing with like thousands of like people. So I can envision that, and I know that it'll happen. So let's let's make sure that we really invest in ourselves, number one, first and foremost, by coming to something like this. That's really important. And then I guess the last thing, unless you had any other questions.
No, that was
the last thing I always would like to end with is like, what piece of advice do you have for the youth or anyone who is watching this today, or hopefully like coming to this conference? What advice would you give to people in the community of a younger generation? Each of you.
Okay, I feel like we live in a world right now where everything is online. You're meeting people online, you're having jobs online. This is the one opportunity you get to come out of your homes, meet other people you otherwise wouldn't have, and it's an amazing network opportunity. So my one advice is to come to
I knew it.
For a conference.
I knew it.
September 3rd.
You will not be disappointed.
Yes.
We actually have very few tickets left, by the way.
Yeah.
Just a fun fact, we've sold out every conference before the day of, so we never have tickets. True. So you better get your tickets soon. For me, really, I mean, I go back to Hadith Prophet ﷺ, where he says, like, the best of you are the most beneficial to others, right? So for us, that's one, saying of the Prophet that we kind of live by. I mean, a lot in America, in the West, is very individualistic, right? It's just about you, your career, your family, your money, your life, right? And we don't really think about benefiting others, right? And it's very particular in the deen. You have to benefit other people. In the conference, we want to provide value and as much benefit to others. And anyone coming to the conference, yes, network, but also think about, especially if you're young, think about how much value you can give to somebody else. Always be more valuable to the other person than they are to you. That's how you're going to have leverage. That's how you're going to propel your career and your business. So come to the conference, provide value, network, connect, and be successful, inshallah.
I guess the only piece of advice that I have is, what is it that they say? Closed mouths don't get fed. Yeah. So, as a fellow Gen Z, I would say definitely make those.
Rep. Don't say it quietly,
guys. Create those opportunities for yourselves. Definitely don't be afraid to put yourselves out there. Every single person that I have met at the conference has been incredible, and like months down the line, either I have an opportunity that I can share with them, or they have something that they want to share with me, and it's just been incredible being able to interact with such an amazing group of people. So I would say this is not limited to professionals and entrepreneurs. This is something that's open to everyone. So definitely come through, put yourself out there, and have an amazing time.
You guys heard it here. Come to the conference.
Yeah.
Yes,
3 times. They told you guys 3 times.
That's our only advice.
I love it. No, thank you guys so much for coming and sharing everything about Snappi. I love it. I love the comments. You certified 100%. I put my stamp on it. It's really great. And then inshallah, hopefully I always say like we're gonna connect again in the future. I love to sit down like a year, 2 years from now and be like, look at what Snappi was and look at what you guys were just talking about, and now like this is like huge across the nation, DC, like you said, other places in the Midwest, California, wherever. I really look forward to it. So thank you guys for coming.
Thank you guys.
Thank you both for having us.
Until next time, I'll see you guys this weekend.
So-
Yay.